The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience presented by DraftKings 2021 Palmetto Championship Bets, Picks, Preview. One and done. We have it all here for you. Remember to smash the like button to the video in the comment section. You tell me who the best value on the betting board is for this week. And you can even say no value because I looked at this betting board. It's not great field, not great odds. So that's what we're forced to deal with right now. It's probably a week that you either want to take off or you really want to shop around because there are some giant spreads on a lot of different people. Plus, there's a few notes. There's U.S. Open qualifying going on right now with a lot of players in this field. So if they qualify for the U.S. Open, does that mean they're going to withdraw on a Wednesday? I don't know how all that's going to play out. I recommend you subscribe to the newsletter. I'll have a recap of all this stuff in that. Free to do. It's in the description of this video and podcast. Comes out on Wednesday evening. Big news coming at you if you're a fan of European sports in general. Euro Tour Picks and Bets is back. That will be up on the Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets The Mix podcast feed, along with being on Mayo Media Network's YouTube channel. So subscribe to that. Please subscribe to both of them. If you do subscribe on Apple Podcasts to The Mix, you leave a 5-star review, something you enjoy about the show, and your Twitter handle or email address. You're in a draw for one of a few $33 entries into the dog leg. Actually, I'll just PayPal you $33 and we'll be good to go. Just like I did with the people who entered that free money giveaway by emailing the Pat Mayo Experience at gmail.com. Some people took advantage of getting that free money. Others didn't. So check your email if you did get into that already. What else do I got on the go? Oh yeah, Euro 2021 starts. Although they're still calling it Euro 2020. I think SEO-wise, 2021 is probably the best way to go about this. I'm going to have a mega preview dropping on Wednesday of the entire tournament. And I have 3 new contributors to Mayo Media Network that will be doing daily coverage of each of the games going on at Euro 2021 that day with all the bets that you need. And that will all appear on Mayo Media Network. Plus, that will be on the Mix feed as well every single day. They're going to be like 5 to 10 minute shows, just previewing each of the games that come up. So show your support for that podcast feed and Mayo Media Network. And if you do like Euro, I even got a British person to be on. This is going to be great news. So Euro 2021, Mayo Media Network has got you covered on that front. FantasyNational.com/Mayo gets you 20% off. Highly recommend waiting till Wednesday if you want to dip your toe into the water because you go Wednesday to Wednesday on the weekly membership, plus the 20% off. Then you get the Palmetto to build your lineups and do everything like that, plus a full week of research for the U.S. Open and digging into the stats with the simulator, the lineup generator, the customizable stat engine, the custom model. It's all up there. So if you just wait till Wednesday, you get Wednesday to Wednesday, get a 2-for-1 deal, and you get a major included into that. I'll have a full week of U.S. Open shows starting on Saturday. We go Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The live chat will be back next week. If you're looking for my final pick show and you're listening to the podcast version of the Pat Mayo Experience, that will appear on the Mix feed going forward. Although next week's show will be on the regular Pat Mayo Experience feed. Hope you got all that. The Listeners League link is open. It's in the description. Join that, fill it quickly, and then we can max it out for next week and get $100,000 of rake-free guaranteed money in that pool. Geoff Fienberg, 2 winners in a row. Here we go.
Let's go, Pat. Well done. Well done.
I hedged out of the money, so I felt like I was free. I should have known, I felt like I was free rolling anyway. We'll get into Rahm in a second, that there was no chance that Cantlay should have won that tournament. And once he got into the playoff with Morikawa, it was essentially even money to hedge out of it for me. So I was like, all right, so on the official scorecard, it's a win for me. It's only really a half win for me in terms of actual money. But you know, that tout clout is really where it's at, isn't it?
Oh, always, but no hedge for me. I don't know. I just felt like it was a total free roll blessing. Didn't even tried my best to not even let the couple 5-footers not tilt me. The 1-on-1, the 1-on-9. I want to say that Cantlay missed. Didn't score on a single par 5. That was starting to really boil. But yeah, no, I just let it play through. It was pretty exciting. Had a blast. Quite remarkable that, Cantlay, like bogey avoidance was his big thing and is his big thing. And Morikawa's is just strictly that ball striking. And, they both, how do you put this? They both, for the most part, like abandoned them. But, they got to the turn and they were even par, or at least Cantley missed like a 4-footer to be there. But I don't know. Great players, great little time. Could debate all the other stuff. Let's go. Fire it up.
Yeah,
Fire it up.
It was the first time Morikawa has ever gained more than 4 strokes putting in a tournament and lost the tournament. Obviously, he came in second place.
Putted great.
It was really weird, though, because he was so nails with those like 5 to 12 foot putts on Sunday. It was, very encouraging to see going forward, although I'll bet him the next time around and he'll miss all of those, every single one of them. He'll still make the cut, obviously, but it was just really weird to see his iron game abandon him. It felt like he couldn't get a good sense of the wind, where it was swirling where he was standing, but it was different up at the hole, and like he was going long, and they tried to compensate, then he started coming up short. It's just really bizarre to see Morikawa be so off with his irons when he's basically the best iron player in the world.
You literally said it best. Through the majority of that round, he was just long on everything when he was starting to get the opportunities in the fairway. Because early you couldn't even get a clean iron on a ball and do what he needed to do. And then as he started to figure it out, then he compensated and he was coming up short. The bogey save he made after he duffed the chip was incredible. It was like Spiethian in a sense, because it was a really hard, like 12-foot downhill putt. And you said it, through the entire round, he hit all those putts so confidently. Cantley had a string of like 6 holes in a row, Pat, where he could not have hit the putts any better, even like 40 footers. And they were like flirting with the cup and not dropping. It was a blast. Even Scheffler, man. I had a head-to-head Cantley versus Scheffler on Saturday that Cantley had to hit a putt on the last to win for me, but that should have won by like 5. Scheffler did what on Saturday, essentially what Morikawa did on Sunday, like saving clear doubles, keeping them single bogeys, like hitting, just putting so spectacularly. And credit, I guess, to all 3 of them. Scheffler obviously pressed at the end. He probably feels better about his bogey, knowing that 12 wouldn't have gotten him in the playoff. It didn't change a payday at all for him. Making a bogey on the last, and then had Morikawa not made his par save on the last, because you almost thought we weren't even going to get to the playoff. Like Morikawa's going to hit another one of these. Incredible. Fire it up. What a great lead-in event, essentially, to the U.S. Open, because I don't know what house show we got this week.
Yeah, we have the Sunday night heat of PGA Tour events at the Palmetto. It's really weird that I think I know the biggest reason that a lot of guys are skipping, like Dustin, Brooks, and Hatton are all playing, but they haven't played since the PGA Championship, so it makes a lot of sense to get like some competitive rounds in instead of going major to major. Not everyone is Tiger who can pull that off in his prime. But the course itself, when you look at like the measurements, it's like a par 71. It's like 7,700 yards. Like on paper, if you just compare the scorecards, like, oh, these are super similar. They could not be different courses. So I don't know how much of a tune-up it's going to be. I'm curious to see how Brooks and Dustin actually approach it. Although Dustin tends to play really well at this style of tournament, like weak field, week before a major. Like he can go and just tune everyone if his game is right. I have no idea where his game's at right now. It's funny looking at the numbers overall that if Patrick Reed just could have putted on Sunday, I felt like he could have got back into this because he had so many birdie opportunities and eagle opportunities. And it's so weird to see him for the week finish really far behind Scheffler, Cantlay, and Morikawa, and even Grace on the greens. Like if you gave me a shot of who is going to be the leading putter out of those 5, I would almost guarantee it would be Patrick Reed.
Yeah, you are 100% right, Pat. He got it going even early on Saturday. It seemed like a certain Twitter account heating up on the weekend got Patrick fired up, to maybe defend the honor of one. You could still find the 35-40 to 1s to win the U.S. Open. I could argue, he's always disrespected. You said the next time you bet Morikawa, he won't make those putts. Here's the thing, Pat. Is Morikawa now like just going to be stapled at that odds range now? Like we're done getting him or him being slept on?
I don't think so, because he wasn't being slept on this time around. He was 18 to 1. He has the same odds as Justin Thomas, and we kind of said,
no, but that's what I mean.
But that's where he is. That's just where he is now.
But I'm saying you see Morikawa 30, 35, 33 at full field events, 40 sometimes, and you like it's just like there's an auto trigger. I wish that I was as auto with it. I've hit a couple, I've missed a couple. That's how much he's won. There've been a few to count. Another couple guys, Pat, who I think played so much better than their score. Carlos Ortiz, embarrassing from inside 8 feet. You could say that's just what was seen on TV, and that's my perception because I haven't deep dived his numbers, but he has been striking the ball like out of this world the last few weeks. And Shane Lowry, to come back from all the double bogeys it felt like he made, even some missed putts, and to still score and play as well as he played, what a really, really great week for Shane Lowry, a guy that I knew some people were touting before the week to have a strong week. I don't know if he, caught every break, he would have found himself to 13 under par, but sort of like Reed, it's hard to he could have really done a lot better than he scored.
Yeah, the first thing I did on Monday morning was site shop for Shane Lowry US Open odds, and I found an 80-1. Apparently, there's a 90-1 out there. I don't have access to that book. If you go and try to find it, not sure what he is on DK Sportsbook. As I can't bet on it, I didn't even go look at the US Open odds. Waiting for next week for those ones. We do our mega show, but I'm in on Shane Lowry at the US Open. If he can continue to he's not bleeding strokes on the green anymore, and that can always flip, obviously, but every other part of his game has been so solid. Like, he led the PGA Championship in driving. This week, he was one of the better iron players in the field. The short game is always going to be good. Not always, obviously, but 85% of the time, he's going to be way better than the field around the greens. If he can just bring the putter along. I mean, we saw him challenge DJ the year that he won the U.S. Open. I don't think that he's a stranger to U.S. Open conditions. I don't think that's going to be a problem for him. And if he can continue to drive the ball this well, I don't see why he can't win at Torrey Pines. Now, obviously, odds are going to say that he's not going to win at Torrey Pines. Sure. It just seems like he should be 50-1 instead of 80-1 or 90-1 right now with the way that he's playing. And you hit it with Carlos Ortiz. He led Memorial in strokes gained approach in the non-Rahm division.
in the eyeball division too. I didn't even need a stat to tell me that. I'm not surprised. It was unconscious. Even tracking him because I was able to hit a Wise top 20. He was out with Wise on Sunday. So you're just seeing how well he was playing and whoever he was playing with on Saturday, by osmosis, by being around other people who are around him that I had invested in, I noticed how well he pretty much played that entire event. Here's my question to you, Pat, because we're a week out from a major. And we always talk about this is essentially the time of year where in the past, we would do a show maybe on this Thursday or Friday to talk about the major. And we found over a little couple of years, we realized it was a waste of time. The show just dies. The odds are so different. Everyone's odds for the most part get better, except for a couple of people. Either they'll play great the week before. It doesn't seem like this field has enough of them, although there's a few, or there are a couple guys who aren't playing, who people like you, Pat Mayo, or, just might have enough reach in the community can actually, maybe drop their number, not by your choosing, you're in at your number, but it's pretty rare for a guy, for you, I guess, to even bet a guy this close to the week, knowing historically how they treat the odds. That being said, you could really be onto something with Shane Lowry, and you identified you think he should be 50 or 60, I guess. And
he strikes me, the reason I went and did it right now, because I'm usually with you, wait into the week, and especially at odds of that range, I would want to wait for the each way to come out and be if he's 66 now on the placement that has the 5-way each way, if I just wait till Monday, is he going to be 80 with 8 places? I just think that Shane Lowry is going to be a really popular pick for the U.S. Open, and I can see his number dropping because it took me forever to find an 80 on it to begin with. His odds were he was 50 in some spots. He's 66.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, there it is.
He is 66-1 on DraftKings Sportsbook, by the way. But yeah, I'm just looking at the U.S. Open odds boards right now. There's one. You think no, that odds drop? Yeah, no. Okay. Yeah, he could be popular, but he's going to drop to where he is already in some spots. Places. Yeah, that's what you got to do. Yeah, I don't mind it. It makes a lot of sense. He's been playing. He's been building that
that form. And I guess he could be a guy the books want to protect on like those 8 places. That's how well he's been playing too.
Yeah, just looking at it right now, like there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players from 8-1 to 14-1 at the U.S. Open. Like that seems a bit rich. So that's not going to stick once we get around to Monday morning.
One more comment on that, Pat. It's probably not going to change. We've spoken how often, how competitive, like how great, just how so many guys can win. You can go so far back down the board. Phil freaking Mickelson just won on the longest recorded major championship course, over 50 years old. At times it feels like we are in a simulation due to events like that. That being said, Jon Rahm probably will be the stand-alone favorite to win the U.S. Open. I love Jon Rahm like a lot of you. I think he's going to be the number 1 player in the world and have it for a really long time. Every piece of content I did last week, I wanted to have a conversation about Rahm, only saying like it feels weird. He's not hitting like the 8 to 15 foot putts that he either hits to save rounds, to keep momentum going, to keep a great par to save that momentum, and he hit them in waves. I don't really care to have the memorial discussion. That's been beaten down. Jon Rahm, who has never won a major, is going to be the standalone favorite at this major. Talk about an enormous ask.
I agree. We'll get into Rahm in a second because I do want to talk about it. We have to talk about it just a little bit. But
no, I know. It feels like everyone who's tried to talk about it seems to just veer off into this like Vax debate.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the one thing that you bring in. It's just like, and it doesn't matter what you even say, because all I asked was, because I was on the golf course with Cust when this was when this was all going down. I looked at it as like, is there like some sort of like glitch? I mean, it's a PGA Tour app. I just saw Rahm was in first place, but he had a WD next to his name. I was like, oh, glitch. Don't even worry about it. Then I went on to Twitter and I was like, oh shit. Does that mean like Scheffler and Cantlay, who were playing with him that day, and I think Morikawa played with him in the morning. I was like, does that mean they're out too? I don't know exactly how this works. And then like people just started jumping down my ass about it, be like, they don't need to be vaccinated. No, they most should definitely be vaccinated. It's like, I'm not too concerned about that. I'm just concerned about whether or not they're playing tomorrow or not. That's the only thing that I'm looking for in terms of information right now. So it's just so weird that it's, I assume it's an American thing. It doesn't seem like my Canadian friends are all like up in arms about this kind of stuff. Do you find that?
No, I don't, but I don't really know. I'm not really, I don't know. I mean, I'm vaccinated. Like, I don't like, I feel it's weird that people don't want to admit if they are or not. Like, that's a weird thing. And I don't know. I don't really want to turn it into that, but like, I'm not like afraid to say it. But that's like, I guess, does that mean like I'm on a side? I just don't really care to talk about it.
No, but the whole point was like whether you're for or against it. I'm vaccinated too. Like for first thing I could sign up for, I'm in. But I mean, first thing I could sign up for it, I was in. Then I got it. So now I have to wait around for like round 2. But it actually was to Jon Rahm's benefit to be fully vaxxed because that doesn't mean that you can't catch coronavirus, but he wouldn't have been tested every single day if he was vaxxed. It was only because he only had the 1 dose and he wasn't like through the 2 weeks that they made him do the testing every day because he was in close contact. Had he have been in close contact but was through the vaccination period, he wouldn't have been tested every single day, which is kind of showing how stupid some of these rules are, to tell you the truth. But just it would have got him out of it and he would have been fine. He would have won the tournament. So that would be sort of the angled spin on it, I think.
Yep. No, 100%. And you felt so bad for him. And you're almost like, why are they telling him that someone in his why are they telling him this like tragic personal news on the side of the 18th hole on Saturday? And then like, obviously, that's where my mind, runs to first when you see the highlight of it. And I don't know, I guess overall, I think he's handled it incredibly mature. And for a guy who people perceive as like a huge hothead. But I don't want to lose sight of my first question to you. Like, he is now chalk to win the US. Like, he'll be the standalone probably by a point or 2. And granted, it all feels like the same in that range, but no, like the books are going to post him at the very top of the tout board without a a major championship. It's an enormous ask.
So it differs from place to place. DraftKings Sportsbook has Rahm at 8-1 to win at Torrey Pines. The next closest guy is Bryson at 12-1. He, Rory, and JT are all 12-1. Then you get to Brooks, Xander, Spieth, and Dustin all at 14-1. But if you just look around at some other places, Rahm is 12-1 with Dustin, Spieth, and Brooks as the 4 co-favorites. So you're going to find a decent number. And it actually kind of worked out to the favor. Like people people are complaining about legalized gambling, but one of the benefits of legalized gambling, at least at the early onset of all of these books going out and trying to acquire customers, is they refunded your Jon Rahm. Some books even paid Jon Rahm out as a winner if you had bet on him this week. That's how much they want your business right now. So if you wait until the week of, and like DraftKings Sportsbook has, like I said, 8 or 9 guys below 14-1 or below, they're going to see the odds at the other sports books. And if people have a better Dustin number, someone hangs a Dustin at 16, well, all of a sudden he's going to be 17 on DraftKings Sportsbook. So it's always best to wait for these sorts of things.
You're 100% right. Like the competition in the marketplace, whether some books are trying to get you with giving extra each way points than others, or guaranteeing best odds on any player under 30-1, it is to our advantage. Although I guess at times it feels like it's another account and passwords to keep track of. But I don't know. Someone showed me another book that had been advertising heavily during like playoff season here. And I'm like, okay, it's another book to like line shop. I love opening flyers on Monday and seeing where the lines are. And as you said off the top, Pat, I mean, this ain't no US Open, but it's like crazy. When you have like jobber players, the discrepancy in numbers is crazy that we are seeing, like at least from my early looks on this tournament. But yeah, there'll be competition and books will move around, I guess, those numbers. But that book that has the 8 is saying like, oh, you just saw Rahm shoot a 64 and you believe in like some Rahm redemption revenge moment at Torrey Pines. Like if you need that crack right now, sure, here, have it. It's 8-1. Like if you can't wait, it's 8-1. Take it.
The hard part is going to be is Rahm has to go into isolation now. I believe it's 10 days. Then he has to prove, I think it's 2 negative tests, which means he can come out of isolation the Wednesday before the tournament starts at the US Open. Now, I don't know what his access is to practice facilities. Because he was in close contact this week, he was in a different locker room. He wasn't able to use the indoor facilities at Memorial. So the tour had done a good job of hey, you have to be over here because you were in close contact. But I just don't know, do you buy into a redemption thing for him at the US Open, or is he going to be rusty?
I buy into him.
Is he going to be rusty?
Finishing 6th place?
Because
I don't know. I'm not betting him, so he's not even on my radar when I look at US Open numbers. He's so short now that I can't even quantify the units that I would need to bet. I'd rather just bet. Pat, one of the guys that we are probably going to hit an each way that will pay more than Rahm's win.
You mean Siwoo Kim?
Sure. Or equal to that's literally with all those places. So yeah, I just can't, I don't even know. It's obviously he can win, but from my concept of betting, there's already red ink because he is unbettable. And then there are all these questions. I will say one thing. With this event being in Torrey Pines, San Diego, this is the hub of golf manufacturing, in the world. They're all sort of there in Carlsbad, right in that area. And I bet you he could be getting the most incredible. He could be in lockdown at the Callaway dungeon, just getting tuned up extreme. That being said, he put a new putter in the bag finally. And as we all kind of talked about, he wasn't making those putts in that Rahm range. They started to rain, so he seems clearly dialed in with the putter. But yeah, they're all flocking. Even, there's a conversation, I hate to have it, but I want to have it, about Xander, Pat. And he was talking about how he spent pretty much days on end in the dungeon at the Callaway Fortress, getting tuned up, getting all his clubs tuned up for the US Open. This guy going into the week, 9th in putting on the tour, and he changes his approach. he changes his thing. I get like the always be tinkering, but oh man, like I don't want to pick on the guy, and it'll probably just be a great moment when he does win. You know, I bet him at the PGA. I bet him last week beside Cantley at a very short, small card of like really good players because I knew that betting range was going to come home. And I'm listening on PGA Tour Radio. Shout out to them for all the great job they do. And they're like, yeah, Xander feels like it's cheating with his new grip. And I'm like listening on the radio to him missing like 7 and 9 footers, like on his next 2 holes. I don't know, man. Like, talk about, I don't want to like make a soundbite because it's just going to come back when he wins. I mean, you can get a new Epic Flash for free if you think he's going to win. Imagine checking that box. What an embarrassing commercial.
Hold on. By the numbers, he actually putted really well this week. You might have just tuned into the part where he did. It was the chipping that got him into all the problems. Why he didn't end up coming inside the top 10. He still came 11th. It was really just one.
He's amazing.
It was just one bad round that got him out of sorts. But I don't like it. He's priced with, like, even looking at the U.S. Open odds right now, Cantlay is still 10 points behind him.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's still, I'm just saying, like, he is, I'm a huge, like, I'm a fan. San Diego guy, Aztec, let's go. I just think, like, the home game ask for him at this moment where I believe, like, it's, like, weighing on him. Like, the weight of, like, not winning. As I say, like, because he identifies himself as a, like, professional golfer. Well, like, Finau's not winning, but like I would say, like, being a pro golfer is like the third thing Finau identifies himself as. You know, dad, like, just there's so many things that I think like Finau takes the losses easier, like way easier. And to be like, I get the always be tinkering, but he's looking, I don't know. He's like looking like he is stretching for anything right now to get him over a finish line. And I guess kudos to that. Seemed like a really strange fix for me. The home game, that's going to be hard. Now, California, San Diego, it's so localized in there, Pat, that like there's like probably 50 guys they're going to claim home games for to a certain degree. You know, even Cantley, Long Beach was shoved in our throat. But, you know, when Morikawa came through on it last year, but even we acknowledge it was like the perfect recipe home game because he got to sleep in his own bed. He got to play a course he knew well that other players didn't know. A lot of guys, everyone knows Torrey Pines, I guess, for the most part. But Morikawa, it's like all those things, but none the pressures in the COVID, no fans. There were no pressures of the home game. It was like a stress-free, well, not stress-free. I don't want to say that. That's crazy. You know, but you're not like putting on 14 and seeing that girl in the 8th grade who titties you want to touch with like consent and respect. It's important. I'm just saying the home game for Xander, like wanting it so bad. I don't think it's going to work out well at Torrey. I don't think it's a bold statement.
I don't.
He can win a free Epic Flash.
He can win, but he's not getting my money unless he's like 28-1 or 30-1, and there's just no chance of that happening. So I'm not too concerned about what Xander is up to. He can go win, and that's fantastic. I will applaud him if he ends up winning a home game at Torrey Pines. Like you said, there's like 50 guys who can claim home game at Torrey Pines. I did want to throw out the bets that I have made for the U.S. Open so far. I bet, along with you, Gary Woodland 100-1. Back in January. I also bet Ryan Palmer 250-1 with the top 5 each way, and I just added Shane Lowry. So I have Lowry, Woodland, and Palmer 80, 100, and 250-1. I did want to go over this Memorial stuff, just kind of a stat outlook, because, you know, we're going to spend 3 minutes talking about this actual stupid tournament. But guys that played really well, either tee to green or in ball striking, and couldn't make a putt all week. Jimmy Walker did not putt well. Is Jimmy Walker, I don't want to say back to being Jimmy Walker, but he's had a few flashes now over the past few months where it seems like every few weeks he can kind of put together one of these performances. This was by far his best iron week. at all. And this was a tough tournament. This was a tough course. Like, should we be considering Jimmy Walker again? Not like this week or anything like that, because now like the odds, I don't even know if he's playing, but I assume the odds would be beaten out. But once he misses actually no, that's a U.S. Open. He's 400 to 1. I was like, Jesus, 400 to 1 this week. That would
won at Torrey Pines, hasn't he?
He had. No, he lost. Maybe yes, he did win at Torrey Pines, but then he lost in that Snedeker year with the weird wind. But I read Dave Tyndall's column about when you go and look at the leaderboard beyond Tiger Woods at the 2008 U.S. Open at Torrey Pines. It's a bunch of guys who just never played well at Torrey Pines before. Like they sucked at Torrey Pines before.
Yeah, I don't know. Jimmy Walker, it's a year of resurgence. I think it's not silly to say, like, just you'll find it in the dirt, like if you're Jimmy. Like the same way Phil Mickelson, the answer's in the dirt. Like, keep grinding, man. Keep doing what you do. Like, it's in ya. Find it. It's great to see. It's great to see. It really is. Whoever wants to be the next guy to like show up and like figure it out. And you don't even have to win, but just like keep making cuts, showing up, keep your place. Let's go. Don't lose your place in our life by not being able to make cuts in tournaments. Keep it up. Great work.
So the other guys that this shouldn't come as a big shocker, but if you're wondering why these guys finished down on the leaderboard, Justin Thomas lost 8.4 strokes putting and still came 42nd. Finau was 6th in the field tee to green. He lost 6 strokes putting at Memorial. And Ortiz was actually 8th tee to green. He lost 3 strokes putting. Rosner was 2nd in approach, by the way. Driving and irons were hot fire for Antoine Rosner from France, but he also could not putt this week. Duffner was another one, although that shouldn't come as a surprise. But the big winner of the week, Hideki Matsuyama, he lost almost 10 strokes putting over 4 rounds.
That doesn't surprise me one bit, Pat. And Finau, that was painful because he'd been putting so well all year. All year. I don't want to say so well all year. His putting had not been what had been holding him back. Like, the results of this week are very similar to like past years of Finau. This year, it's really been consistent, much stronger putting, and it had been the approaches that weren't nearly as consistent and were letting him down. We're finally getting the approaches back to the elite Finau level, and we've lost the putting. That was really bad to see, or sad to see, but I think it's a good sign. And there are still 40 to 1s, and I'm dumb enough to think he's totally live at Torrey Pines on those greens with those irons.
Maybe. I don't know if I'll end up getting to Finau for the U.S. Open, but I just want to throw that out there. If you're wondering about why some of these good guys finish down the leaderboard, their games are actually pretty fine-tuned if you're projecting ahead to the U.S. Open. I did want to give a special shout-out to co-host of the European Tour Picks and Bet Show, Skylar. Also shout out to Axis, both over at ftmbets.com. They hit the LPGA US Open winner at like 300 to 1. That's an amazing hit.
Will Sasso. Great job.
It's funny because people kept tweeting out Sasso, and I actually thought I didn't realize it was I didn't watch it. I watched like 20 minutes of the US Open. But the course looked fucking the course looked awesome, by the way.
We got to get back there.
But they're not.
Maybe we're on the docket for something. But Pat,
there's a PGA Championship and a Ryder Cup going to Olympic Club in the next 5 years, I think.
Great. If you would have, that's amazing. If you would have told somebody on Saturday night, like the Rahm before the Rahm news, that neither Rahm or Lexi Thompson are going to win an event this weekend, been unfathomable. Like, they both had touchdown leads. They're both world-class like players. Incredible, I guess, for different reasons for both of them not winning, obviously. But yeah, wow, golf. There it is.
The course looked like it was in absolutely spectacular form, though. And even the shots NBC did a really good job, at least with the coverage that I saw. But I was just, I was out for the weekend. I played some golf, then I watched the PGA Tour, and big miss by the Women's U.S. Open having their conclusion the same time as Memorial.
You thought it would have been a little later, but maybe the playoffs and the rain delays, I don't know, where they were a little off schedule.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Why would they be off schedule by finishing that early in a West Coast event?
Yeah, I don't really have your answer.
It seemed like
And then-
it
and
seemed
then
like a
it
good
got
spot for
cut- it
primetime
got
golf.
And then it got cut from NBC. They had gymnastics to get to on NBC. NBC made that decision, obviously, because they cut them off.
You know what draws unusually high ratings, Jeffrey?
Yeah, Simone Billsley.
Yeah,
Biles.
just gymnastics in general. Like in an Olympic year, gymnastics actually does really good ratings for what you would
it was
think
so
gymnastics
funny because
does.
golf Twitter was raging, but then like Brendan Porath, he's so good. He screen grabbed a bunch of tweets from like gymnastics Twitter, and they were raging too. so good.
What were they mad about?
Where's the gymnastics? Simone Biles the greatest ever.
Yeah, well, that is no different than us complaining about CBS going along with some like shit Big 12 college basketball games. Like, get to the golf. Start showing the golf.
Yeah, no, I get it. He was just saying there's another side to you're angry. like everyone's angry. The golf fans are angry. The gymnastics fans are angry. Good times. What a crazy weekend. And I had this thought. I didn't tweet about it because I didn't really want to like talk about it more or like in text form, but it's pretty wild, Pat, that this how do you put this? In some ways, the events of this week at Memorial will live as historically as Mickelson's win. Like, we'll always like remember this Rahm thing, like forever. Like it's a historical moment in a different way than was the Mickelson win in the history of golf in the tour.
I don't know what you mean.
A guy got tested positive up by a touchdown on Sunday. Like that's gonna live forever.
Yeah, probably not. The only thing that should live, I think, with the Rahm stuff is
not like Hideki's win at the Players. This was different.
It was different. Rahm was just going to cruise to a win. That's why we got. I'm trying to remember like the next time I hit a bad beat or a break doesn't go my way that I should just remember this. I won't because no one does that. But I really should. That it even worked twofold too because
Race is out.
Yeah, I just saw that. That's why I was just updating here. And we haven't even got to the tournament yet. You could have saved it for that. You don't think I'm on top of this shit? Come on, Jeff. But Rahm withdrawing is one thing, but then Cantlay got like the super rain delay like stop, and he made Morikawa chip it from off the green, but then he got to like wait on his putt that he then walked back and made on the slower greens, so he could be a bit more aggressive on that putt after the downpour. Like there's just a lot working in Cantlay's favor that he just should not have won this tournament. But don't overlook that. Remember, I always point to that Michael Kim performance at the John Deere Classic. Like no one remembers that, but that was actually like one of the most dominant wins that I've seen in the past 10 years on the PGA Tour. This Rahm one was shaping up that way. He was first off the tee, he was first down approach, and he was second in putting for a week. And this wasn't against a bunch of bums at TPC Deer Run either. This was against one of the better fields of the year at one of the hardest courses of the year. He was fucking killing it. That's the part that's going to get lost, is just how amazing he was playing.
Yeah, no, that Saturday was out of this world in every regard, from the finish to the second round to how he just completely obliterated it. Everything was perfect.
What else do we got? Oh, the guy that won on the Euro Tour. Did you watch that guy's interview? Armage?
Yeah, that was great. I know you would have loved it. He's like, no, this was all me, bitches. Like, I earned it. Yeah, screw the team.
He was
I loved it.
Overly emotional. No, he was great. Axis hit that one too. So we hit a 300-1 and a 100-1 winner this week. And I'm here feeling good about splitting a 22-1. But hey, 2 in a row, Jeff. Can we make it a turkey, do you think, at the Palmetto Championship?
I don't know, but can we? I feel like we got to do one more thing. Okay. How do you put this? Bryson DeChambeau is clearly a lot mentally weaker than I gave him credit for.
Oh, you're using your college minor again to assess the situation? Because I watched the Faraday with him that came on after the round on Saturday, and it was delightful.
No, I love him. No, I haven't changed sides here. I'm just saying, like, he has to realize when he unleashes the Kraken, like what then might be coming with it.
What's going on over
My
there?
like
Geoff?
home alarm system just spoke to me in French.
Oh, en français, c'est Jeffrey. Qu'est-ce que tu fais ici, hein? Pourquoi tu? I don't know what betting is in French. Wager?
Okay. My point being is, what the hell is going on?
Are you in a panic room situation right now?
I'm really confused. Okay. I'm going to try this again. I just mean like it's now at the point where like I don't like Brooks encouraging people to heckle him, potentially get kicked out, and there's a reward of free beer after is like genius and very low at the same time. But now it's like to the point where like he's making this Brooksy thing. Like it's like when someone calling you intentionally by your wrong name is hyper disrespectful. If it's like one or two people that like they know your name in any walk, it's like one of the greatest forms of disrespect. So I could sort of see him being like annoyed at that. But when it's like a communal thing, you either have to embrace it or you're dead, pal. It's like when the stadium gets on the goalie or like chanting Larry at like Chipper Jones, like or Daryl. Like it's one of those things where like you can no longer potentially combat it. So I totally get him being annoyed when if he's paranoid or thinks things are happening in his backswing. That is like 150% legitimate. And Brooks is clearly ready to play dirty because he's like, oh, you're going to get kicked out for heckling Bryson? Well, I'm going to like pay you forward for that. Like what a move. But yeah, if it's like, you know, you're being sort of like the goalie, you know, when the whole stadium's kind of on you or a group, like you got to be able to wear that better, man, especially when you're the guy that tweeted a thing of you in his head. So,
I mean, I think it's very clearly that Bryson is in Brooks's head. Bryson's not doing anything. It's all Brooks going on the offensive, which leads me to think that not only is Bryson in Brooks's head, Brooks doesn't think he's as good as Bryson right now. He's pulling out guerrilla tactics against him. That or
No,
I go back to my
Brooks.
original thing that I think they're doing this together for money.
Okay, maybe. I don't know that Bryson would allow his golf game to be potentially interfered with.
But I don't. But I mean, the backswing stuff is one thing. But outside of like the stuff in the backswing, I didn't see any detrimental effect to Bryson's game. He played like Bryson.
No, I agree.
He played like Bryson normally plays.
I want 100%. I'm just saying, if any part of him is worried that like I now need to be worried when I pull my trigger that they're going to, be and not like you're in one of those final groups at a crowded crowd anyway, like you always have in your thought that some guy's going to mash potatoes early. But if it's like this concerted effort to like, out of Brooks I think that could be low. If they're playing together, that's fine. I would agree to lean with you that Bryson is more in Brooks's head, but I would also say, Pat, that the tactics Brooks using, like Brooks has probably been using his whole life in middle school, in high school. Like he's always found a way. Like he's always been better than you. And maybe he might feel threatened by you, like you a little in terms of how good Bryson is in some way. I think this is just the game that Brooks like craves to play at every level.
Yeah,
Like,
it strikes me as Brooks really seems to enjoy this, which is great. I mean,
yes,
it's fantastic for not only our content, but the hype surrounding, especially if they get paired together at the U.S. Open, it's fucking awesome. So I'm all for it. But it's funny because to Bryson, it just seems to me like Bryson's just confused by the entire thing. Like he just doesn't he doesn't get this at all. He's like, what? Well, what are you doing? I'm just trying to play golf. It's basically the Shooter McGavin. This is golf, not a rock concert.
Yes, he does seem like, okay, his team is like, no, we signed you up for this. And he's trying to play a role, but he's like really confused on the script at this because it's very, in some ways, unnatural, but you read the transcript from the weekend and or whatever day it was, it feels incredibly like natural. Like, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I said my piece. I guess I'll close it by saying of the entire broadcast crew, Faldo seems like the only one who keeps trying to bring it up and no one else will go there with him.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of strange. Like, you think they'd want to lean into this. Do you think it's because NBC has the U.S. Open and CBS doesn't? Like, if CBS had the coverage of the next time that these guys are playing together and could potentially put them together, that they'd want to be pushing that for the ratings? I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking with a producer hat on right now, but maybe there was a directive to say, hey, like, let's not hype this up. And we don't want, and you know how CBS is like, oh, we're the classy golf station. We don't want to be talking about this stuff. Yeah. And Faldo just seems to enjoy it.
Yeah. Faldo tried like at least like 3 or 4 times on the weekend to get the co-anchor, even Nance, to into it. You're probably right. There's probably like an agenda that, I don't know, these like 80-year-old golf fans don't even know this thing is happening. So let's not even tell them about it because we don't have the big event next week.
Yeah, exactly. So why try to pump any air into the tires here? We're going to the We're going to the Palmetto Championship. Where did you try to do any? Do you want to get it in, or do you got anything more on Brooks and Bryson?
No, I got nothing. I got nothing into it other than to say Jason Day withdrew from his qualifier today.
He didn't even withdraw from his qualifier today. He didn't show up to his tee time.
And in a much different way than Ricky, he like kind of, well, I don't know. Ricky kind of did the same thing with missing the Masters, but Jason Day's like, yeah, I got sponsors obligations. I'll be fine. I'm doing this thing for NetJets. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, I mean, if Jason Day is getting like some commission on renting out private jets, probably more profitable than playing golf for him at this point. Just looking at his odds right now, he still is 40-1 to win the U.S. Open, despite the fact that he is not playing.
See, that's a whole other discussion. It's one of my least favorite things. And as we talk about competition in the book place, Pat, in the books, they're also quick to move when guys are playing hot, but they never give us they never do the other way to guys that are so off base. And I'm not saying, oh, Zalatoris missed a cut, give me an 80. I mean, like Jason Day, like guys that are DOA. And I know Day's not playing, but you could list like 5 others in this field. Like, they don't do that other part in the futures market. Week of, like, they'll do it. Like, Day will be like 100. Well, he's not in the tournament, but you know what I mean. So hopefully competition in the industry, that's another thing that we can see.
Sure.
Going forward.
I think that's just more a result of they're more concerned about getting the odds out this week, whatever's happening today, to make sure that they're up to date on that.
Of course.
That something like this. And if people don't know, if you bet a non-week of future of a golf tournament, and then that golfer doesn't play, you can fight them to get your money back, and maybe you will, but they do not owe you your money back. It is a lost future bet. And like people who don't realize when they bet on top 10s that if a bunch of people tie for the last spot of top 10s that your bet gets chopped up. It's one of those things you just learn the hard way. I think we've all been through it.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I remember being like one of my first bets I ever made on some international, like might have even been soccer or hockey, like an international game. I didn't realize I wasn't getting paid back on my tie. I was like, what? 3-way? Huh? So yeah, I don't know. We've all sort of had those embarrassing things you can laugh at now. I will say to your original response to my question, you're absolutely right. It's not even that the books notice that player X is playing well. They just see, holy shit, we're taking money on player X for this event in a month, in 2 months, in 3 weeks, in 2 weeks. We've got to do something about it. They don't like, if you're not betting Jason Day, no one's like, look, or anybody, like they're only paying attention to the people taking action. They're taking action on. And
anyone that has any sort of narrative around them, especially at major championships with whatever the course might be, is always just going to be inherently overvalued in the early betting market. So Day has 2 wins at Torrey Pines, hence he's 40-1. Like,
yes. Also to that point, Pat, before we had the DQ from Rahm or the WD, it felt identical to what was happening with Rory. Now, let me say this. A guy that hadn't won in a long time for how good they are, right? Rory had a drought. Rahm is going back for Rahm like a while. It's been a lot of starts, maybe like one of his longest start droughts ever. He wins in the lead up to the major that he's he wins at a course he's won at in a lead up to a major on a course that he's won at. I hope I made sense.
Yeah, no, I completely understand it. But I don't even know what Justin Rose's number is in this field right now, but he's another guy who's won there before. So I assume that he's high up in the betting odds. I think he's 45-1 or something like that. Like week of, he's going to be 70. So
he's been sneaky good though.
I agree. He's been sneaky good. He's been better in these bigger events, but he's not going to go off at 45-1 the week of because no one will bet Justin Rose at that price.
I had a lot of fun talking golf with you.
Me too, because we're just dreading this stupid fucking event.
I don't know what to say. I made notes.
Yeah, me too.
They weren't on the event. They were on this other stuff. So I'm happy to get to the event and do it quickly.
Palmetto Championship in South Carolina, replacing our national event, Jeffrey, the Canadian Open, gone for the second consecutive year. It is the first time it has been canceled. I mean, last year was the first year it was canceled, but World War II was the last time that the third oldest Open Championship in the world was not played. But here we are. We're at Congaree Golf Club, where if you could do research on this, it'll just talk about how philanthropic all of the billionaires who created it are. That's like, it's a must write into the byline of every single story. It's just pretty outrageous to think of. It's a pretty coolly designed course though, I must say. It's like Kiowa Island where all the sand, you can ground your club. It just deals it with it naturally that way. It's a super flat course. It does seem like there's going to be thunderstorms throughout the week, but I don't know how much precipitation is actually going to come down. Like you might get a quick dump, but then it gets really hot and bakes itself out again, because if it does play firm and fast, which how it traditionally plays from what I can tell is that you're looking at like a Royal Melbourne, you're looking at like Scottish courses with the way that different types of players can attack it. It's super long. It's a par 71. It's over 67 or it's over 7,600 yards. It's one of the longest courses these guys are going to play all year long on the PGA Tour, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be a huge advantage for bombers at the same time, unless it starts getting wet out, because the shorter hitters, like the Fitzpatricks of the world, are just going to kind of be able to keep it low. They're going to play that like link style iron game where they can run it up to the greens. It's completely shaved around the greens. So if you want to putt from off the greens, you can do it that way too. So that brings more players back into the player pool. So it just does seem like a very uniquely laid out course where there's just many different ways that you can tackle it. So when I looked at comp courses and I went through this on the Sunday show, just different style places, I'm kind of looking at some of those Middle Eastern events over on the European Tour to give myself a gauge of what's going on.
Don't do that to me.
You've already made the bet, so what's the difference?
Well, I don't know who we're talking about, but I know who I'm thinking about when you say that's where this winner looks like he could come from.
I mean, here's the thing. Let's get to it. Actually,
I'm talking about someone else. Yeah, I've made a couple downrange bets, but there's a guy closer to the top whose like only big wins I feel have been in the Middle East.
Yes. I mean, I may have just mentioned his name as well, but at the same time, Brendan Grace just withdrew it as of this recording. He must have qualified for the U.S. Open, so he's out of here, and he would have set up really well for this course. I actually liked him a lot this week. Is out for this week. Doug Gim, the Gim Reaper, my guy. Can't lose money on you this week, Dougie. He withdrew from the event. Chuck Hoffman withdrew with the event. It's funny because I liked all of those guys this week. Kyle Stanley withdrew from the event. So pay attention as we go forward, because once the U.S. qualification is over, if guys in this field qualify for the U.S. Open, they might just say, fuck it, and head to Torrey Pines. So, like I said, join the newsletter and jump into that. The Pat Mayo Experience Listeners League link is in the description as well. And if you do want to generate your lineups, so you're not going to start your research till Wednesday anyway, fantasynational.com/Mayo gets you 20% off. The weekly membership goes Wednesday to Wednesday. That will get you and the entire Wednesday of building your lineups for DraftKings or making your bets this week for the Palmetto, but it takes you all the way through the Wednesday to build your lineups, make all your bets, and do all your research for the U.S. Open as well. So with /Mayo at the end, it gets you 20% off. It's like $7 or something like that for 2 weeks worth of the site. You should probably go do that if you're actually serious about trying to compete this time around. I forgot to do shout outs at the beginning, Jeff, but a ton of people hit Cantlay. That's amazing news. It's great to see people back, in the positive side of the ledger with Kokrak than Cantlay the last 2 weeks after an extended drought. This is usually what happens, but there wasn't over $700,000 won by viewers of this show on DraftKings this week, but there were still some pretty hefty payouts. So sorry I didn't get to shout out your names at the very beginning, but congratulations to everyone out there who had an awesome week. The odds from DraftKingsSportsbook.com this week, Jeff. Dustin Johnson is 7.5 to 1. Brooks is 9 to 1. Hatton is 11 to 1. Fitzpatrick is 12 to 1. Sungjae is 16 to 1. Then you got Fleetwood at 25, Noren at 25, Poulter at 25, Anderkhurst, Harris English at 28, Brendan Grace withdraw at 28 to 1. Looking at the odds right now, Lucas Glover is actually 29 to 1, who is an ambassador for this course. He's the guy who's probably played the course the most of anyone in this field. So I don't. Are we going to bet anyone from down in this range? Like, you could tell me that Dustin's going to win. I think I'd rather play like 5 long shots, play 3 DraftKings lineups, and just call it a week for me here.
I mean, you said, I've seen Noren as high as 40. So again, like there's,
listen, we're like, I don't want to talk about all the site shopping. People know to site shop. We're going to talk about the DraftKings odds. If you say you got a better number, just say there's a better number.
No, I'm not betting. No, I'm just saying, like, this is the craziest.
But the ranges this week are legit, like 40 to 50 points in between some guys, depending on what site you use. We can't talk about every single one of them.
Yes, great point. We'll get that out of the way. We're just going off these. We know you got to site shop everything, as are we. Or no, you don't. You just bet at DraftKings. Anyone under 30 to 1, I'm such a loser. But the two names, like the only, like Hatton to me is the only thing I would consider under 20. I think Fitzpatrick does make sense, but and maybe you could say they're equal, but I like Hatton more. So if I had to pick between the two, I'd be taking Hatton. And you mentioned like Middle East success, Middle East comps.
Tommy.
That screams Fleetwood to me.
But it screams Hatton and Fitzpatrick too, because they went over there too.
Yeah. So all those guys, their biggest wins. Although I feel like Hatton won the BMW.
And he won
Hatton's
API.
won Bay Hill.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fitzpatrick and Fleetwood for sure. And I'm a sucker. I'm Fleetwood at DraftKings. That seems like a pretty fair. I don't know if it's fair. Jeez, I don't know. Like I said, I bet him to win a major. I bet him to win. We bet him to win a major 2 weeks ago. So I obviously, yeah.
His number at DraftKings Sportsbook appears to be the best on the market at like 26.5, 27 to 1. Most other places, it's like 22 or 24 at best. What do you think about Dustin and Brooks here? I feel like Dustin is way more live just to go out and run train on everyone at this tournament, but I can't see myself getting that low. And even at the 11 to 1 for Hatton or in the 12 to 1 for Fitzpatrick, I would just pass on those. Those are ones you can find like 16s and 18s and 20s on though.
Yeah, of course. I agree with you. If it's between Dustin or Brooks, it'd be full go Dustin because he has a habit of winning these events in the past, or he's done it before the major. I think Brooks is literally just like, I don't want to have to walk 72 holes. Or sorry, I don't want to have to walk. I don't want to have to walk the entire tournament. I don't want to have to walk 72 holes without having done it for the month. So I'm happy to walk it this week. And maybe it's 36 and maybe it's a half-ass 72. But, if he starts hot fire, he's going to chase his million plus. But I think there's like a different mindset. This is South Carolina, is it not?
It is South Carolina. It's in
so Dustin probably knows if the famous Carolina course, Dustin probably plays it, knows as well as anybody.
He might or he might not. Like it's not like it's a brand new course. The Fazio design, by the way. So like Firestone. I keep saying Pinehurst number 2 because that's the first thing that rings in my mind. It's Pinehurst number 8 is a Fazio design. Corrales, and this is basically a Corrales field, but they invited like 5 big names to show up.
Well, Dustin's also I'm not having any of them. If I had to pick, it would like at this moment in time, even though Brooks had that amazing PGA and you could debate which one would be more live for Torrey Pines is fair. I think Dustin is way more live if I had to make a move on these, but total pass. I could argue a very few guys that might actually represent a fair opportunity lower on the board that you've mentioned, Pat, is Harris English, Carolina,
Anderkhurst.
30 to 1. It's totally pardon?
He's Anderkhurst.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I that looks like a fair number. I mean, like it's flirting like with a, you could start it with like a 29 or has a 3 in front of it. Like, he seems like the type of place where he would probably play very, very well. I haven't made that bet. I've made 2 bets north of 50 at the moment.
Yeah, I have 4 bets in so far. So let's just, like I said, I don't want to spend all day talking about a tournament like I legit don't care about. So let's just call this the 30 to 1 and up range. And we can talk about anyone on the board. I don't care what their odds are. Here are the guys that I'm giving you that I think that we're both in on. Because the odds adjusted on the site that I use for, I'm going to find them on on DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook, better odds. So Rafa Cabrera Bello, 85 to 1. He's another guy who is just, I ran the short-term modeling on Fantasy National with my key stats this week. Over the past 12 rounds, Rafa is 5th in this field overall behind Brooks, Hatton, Lebioda, and Ben Martin, of all people. I think Ben Martin's a local guy to this course. Vince Whaley, number 6. Good for him. And then Danny Willett. I think Danny Willett is another guy who's won in the Middle East. And just with these weird green complexes and the different style of shots that you're going to play, like if it does start breaking out to like Linksy style and you have to get creative around the greens, I just think he's not playing great by any stretch of the imagination, but his around the green game has been some of the best in the world. And I got him at 70 to 1. So 70 to 1 and 75 to 1 for Willett and Rafa for me.
I have bet both of those guys. Those are my 2 bets. It's funny, like we were both on them without really speaking to each other. Those were the guys we liked. No surprise, I guess. Maybe they end up being popular. I will say Rafa, I don't know, maybe it's baby steps. I'm just encouraged. These how do you put this? I feel like we've seen like one really good round recently. And last week now we got like 2 really good rounds. Okay, fine, 35 holes, but it was still a really good round, and I'll round up to 2 really good rounds. So maybe we can build off 2 really good rounds for Rafa and turn it into 3 really good rounds for Rafa, and that allows us to be sitting somewhere on Sunday. That's exciting. All you can ask for. Danny Willett, I think he's playing pretty freaking good. No. Relatively speaking, made a putt for the cut on the number, which was clutch for me in my lineups last week on the last hole, and ended up finishing 25th or 26th place. The PGA, I will say for him of all players, like everyone could have had an excuse at the PGA. I don't think anybody comes into the PGA had a bigger excuse at the PGA than Danny Willett, who was hosting the British Masters the week before the PGA, and most people who love to bet the European Tour consistently, they are always fading those Betfred British Masters hosts. Willett contended as a host. What an effort. Probably, so he came off of the host and a contending effort into a BS PG, like a PGA that I'm called. Listen, you bet a guy at 80 to 1, you got to make your own story, okay? But I'm writing off that PGA. It doesn't mean anything to me because I can sandwich the British Masters and the strong play at Memorial last week and say, in this field at 80, 70, let's go. Danny Willett, friends.
I think I'm just making an effort not to go too low beyond. Like, there are guys like Poulter at 40 is a good number. Glover at 45 isn't terrible. Higo, with the first site that released odds, had Higo at 30 to 1. He has now been scaled back. He's 55 to 1 on DraftKings Sportsbook. He is one of the highest ranked players in this field. I don't know how well he's going to play. He played pretty well at the PGA Championship in his first ever start in America and first ever start at a major. I would assume this course is a little bit easier and the field is far, far weaker. So those aren't horrible odds for a guy with already has 2 wins on the European Tour this year, and a guy I just like a lot. But other than that, I think I would go beyond 100 to 1 at this point if I was going to go to someone else, unless you really want to make a compelling case for like Vegas or Varner or Knox or, Kazire at 35 to 1. Keith Mitchell actually kind of stands out to me as someone who could play really well here. It's a super long course, and 2 of the guys that, between Raff and Willett, they're not bombers off the tee by any means. You can grab Mitchell at 55 or 50 to 1 on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. If it does turn into like a bomber's paradise, at least we're back on Bermuda, and Mitchell's playing pretty well at the moment.
Yeah. I would say I'm happy to see that as a lot of books have started to post, there have been, better efforts to make me potentially interested in betting Patton Kazire. I was hoping for a 50, and when the odds came out, I was looking for a 50. Like my eyes were at 50 and above, and I first saw him at 33. So I was really turned off. Now he's coming in at like the mid 40s. DraftKings is the best odds at like 46. That's close enough for 50 to have me really potentially tempted, Pat. Snedeker's been kind of playing sneaky good golf at the moment.
He's one of those guys right now that
won at Torrey Pines.
He's won at Torrey Pines twice in his career, and it looks like, at least in terms of the early qualifying that's going on for the U.S. Open, it looks like he might get his spot. So he might be one of the guys that pulls out.
Oh, good point. Good eye. Knox, you've made some like points that could potentially. And by points, I mean like
Scotland?
You mentioned Scottish.
Does that mean we're on Laird too?
I don't know, but I think he's like quietly trending in the right direction. Not getting any. Well, there's a bit of attention on it, but yeah. Other than that, I don't have much. If you think like Kisner will rise up, if you wish he was playing a little better, but that's about it. Again, another guy just in crazy numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that the numbers are bad. It's just this field is bad. And it lost 6 of the good players who would be in this field. And it might lose even more at this point. So,
but doesn't the field being bad like put you in an awkward place of like, oh, I have like, there's this guy I believe in and this field is so bad. So if he's ever gonna like not have to be in a position like he gets a chance to stare down Bo Hogue on Sunday, who maybe over 100 is playing well, or he just got some good TV time because his grandpa was friends with Jack, but respectable effort Memorial. He probably knows it as well as anybody, but you know what I mean? Like, I believe in Danny Willett. I like Danny Willett. I mean, like, I got him at Danny Willett against this field, showing like the little, like, you could debate his form as a fan and a guy that believes in Willett. Like, how could I not bet him at this number against this field?
Yeah. I'm just going on sort of like almost like you just said, like class of player. If Rafa is getting back to where he used to be, he's not there yet, but at least I've seen him be really good. And someone like Noren, who's also not playing great, is being treated like he's back. Like he's very close to the player that he used to be, which is not the case whatsoever. So I find that part really confusing to me in terms of some of these numbers. Higo at 55. I mean, if you just want to gamble on the talent, I kind of all for that. Like I really like Glover here, but then I just like Glover hasn't won since like 2009 or something stupid like that. Like, do I really want to bet him here at 40-1?
Sure, but like it's not like you're gonna have a betting card filled with like winning resumes since like 2015 on anybody.
No,
like,
I'm not. But I don't listen. Glover rates out really well. Obviously, he's familiar with the course. But if I can get Rafa for double the number, like Rafa's probably a better player. Why wouldn't I just take that?
Yeah, you're 100% right. Like I totally agree, and I feel like it's all. I mean, you sort of alluded to it at the top. This is good. This exposure might be less than it's football season, but there's golf still happening, like golf event exposure. Like that's how little my exposure level might be to this tournament.
All right. I got, are we done from the 30 to 100? Because I have 2 plus 100s that we're going with.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm done. I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm done. Unless you could debate where Luke List number comes in.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing List at above 100-1 actually in some spots. So
yeah, so there it is.
I could get on board with that. Why not, right? So the plus 100-1 guys, I have 2 bets in right now. Both guys turning professional this week, and I normally would be like well off this, but after just watching like Morikawa win, Wolf win, and Hovland almost win a whole bunch of events, like. And they were playing against better fields than this. John Pack and David Thompson at 150-1, playing that with the each way. I just like, screw it, I'm in. Like, maybe these guys are just really awesome. Like, Thompson's the SEC player of the year coming off of it, and John Pack's like the best college amateur in a long time. Like, compared, like, he's on, it feels like, at least in terms of his resume, that he's on like that Morikawa, Hovland, Wolf level. As a guy coming out of college. Like he won 7 times in college or something stupid like that. He's the Ben Hogan Award winner. Like he's supposed to be really good, and you can get him at 150-1. Maybe the guy doesn't make the cut, but if he's good, like why couldn't he win this?
Yeah, I mean that that DraftKings number must have like crushed down because I think it opened like over 200. Pat.
Oh, did it? I'm not looking at DraftKings on that one because I was pulling up what I had the money. Yeah, he's 225 to 1. John Pack on DraftKings Sportsbook. That's a much better number. I wish I could bet that.
Listen, the fact that he's only 150 to 1 would kind of show you like the level of respect that certain books are showing him. Because that still feels like it should be higher for a guy that's going to be making his first run. And my only question to you, which you like are kind of just answering it blindly on the resume, is yes, those other guys like won quickly, but it's like not all QB classes are the same. Like, does that mean like he might have won like the same amount of events as Wolf, but like, does he project to be that type of pro golfer? I'm going to assume he does, and it's always fun to, I guess, maybe bet on these guys. That ask still feels quite enormous, but I guess so would asking Kevin Chappell or Danny Lee to win.
It's funny because like Davis Thompson and Pack are like 150 to even to 125 to 1 at most places. On DraftKings Sportsbook, they're 225 and 300 to 1. So even if you want to take the top 10 on that would still be really good. But I'll play both those guys with the each way. And the only ones I was really looking at because of that like Middle Eastern, and I don't even know if that is a crossover. That's just the lane that I'm sticking to this week to see if it works. David Lipsky plays really well over there for whatever reason on the European Tour. He's in the field this week. And even some of his best finishes, like we got his win on the Corn Ferry Tour last year. It was in Texas. So they said this is very akin to some of the like Australian courses with the way that it's set up with all the sand and the runoff areas. That, Australians tend to play really well in Texas. So, if so facto, could play well here. That's the logical leap that I'm making. So I don't like his number, though. His number's like 110 to 1. I wish it was a bit deeper than that.
Listen, you almost feel like you're obligated to throw some bullets here. The last event before a major
don't feel obligated to be throwing any darts. Like I don't mind Bramlett this week at 200 to 1 either.
I don't mind that. Don't be Bramlett. No, these are the events. Like KH Lee just cashed this event at 200 the week before a major. Like the difference between the guys at 100 and like 180, as you always kind of say, doesn't really feel like much separates them. I don't know.
Oh man.
That being said, I don't have a freaking clue. Like, how bad is Ben Ann playing?
Very, very bad.
Yeah. Holy jeez. Just looking at those numbers now.
If you go down to the very bottom of this list, you're gonna find some real blast from card, like first round leader picks from like 5 years ago. You got Konos, the Swedish Porn King's in the field now. Carl Peterson, Michael Kim, Smiley Kaufman is in this field. Derek Ernst is in the field. Hey, Chris Baker, the birdie maker, is 1,000 to 1.
Didn't JJ Spawn just cash a first round leader?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he's 300 over at DraftKings.
Beer Gardens in this event. Oh, the other guy to watch out for. What the fuck is his name? I'm gonna fuck up his name because that's what I do when I don't hear it a whole bunch of times and you only like read it, or you have like the British guys talking about it, and I'm like, I don't know if that's like an accent choice or what's going on here. But Nienber is it Nienber? Yeah. Nienber?
Wilco Nienber.
Yeah, he's sort of like the poor man's Higo.
Isn't he isn't he a brick shithouse?
Yeah,
I think he hits it a ton.
I'm pretty sure he's giant. He's a 21-year-old South African who's won on the Euro. He won the
Challenge a couple weeks ago, I think. Challenge Tour.
Good player.
Yeah, I remember seeing him in some Euro events. He's big boy. How about
this? EVR is 100 to 1.
I was looking at all those scrubs, EVR, Uline, Lewis. You don't want me rhyming off the names.
But hold on. Doesn't it feel like EVR is in a different category than those guys? Like, isn't he like an okay player?
I don't know. I sometimes I want to think so, but I really don't know.
I mean, maybe he gets boosted up because the name, like he spells his name Eric with a K. It's Van Royen. Like if his name was like Eric with a C, Eric Russell, maybe we wouldn't think that he was actually good. Maybe it's one of those name things where he has like a cool sounding name, and when you look at it, it's like, oh, Eric Van Rooyen, that sounds pretty all right. Maybe he's actually good. Then you see him at the top of like WGC leaderboard. Sometimes you're like, okay, this guy's got game. But I used to just call him the European Luke List, and maybe that's just who he is.
Yeah, I don't know. There was like that run where he contended forever on the European tour. He's sort of like, there's new guys that do that. Ow, I just dropped my phone on my toe, man.
What did you do?
I dropped my phone on my toe. It hurts.
That's why you don't have your phone in one hand and a microphone in the other hand.
Well, I'm changing things around. I was gonna say he's sort of like he's doing what like Dietrich and Schaub now do, which is like just contend all the time but not win.
Yeah, I think Dietrich got the final spot in the U.S. Open from those like European qualifiers. I think he was the 10th.
I really like him.
I know. Guido's number 2 on that list. We're gonna get some Guido action at the U.S. Open.
That's exciting.
Yeah, Sky's got to be fired up. All right, let's go to the quick picks. I had nothing else to talk about. Willett 70, Rafa Cabrera Bello 75, both with each ways. John Pack and Davis Thompson 150 and 150, both with top 5 each ways. I'll put out my cheat sheet on Wednesday if I add anyone else to the list. Like I'm seriously considering betting Hatton at 16-1. Like that's fair for me. That I might just make a big bet on Hatton and then take these 4 guys.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm like having this thing. Like, should I just, because I've bet Rafa and I've bet Willett. So I could really do whatever I want. And should I just like keep hitting like 50 and above and just like spend all my money to have a mass amount of ticket or, you know, as many tickets as I feel comfortable in what they'd pay, yada, yada, yada. Or do I just go supplement Willett and Rafa with Hatton and even get really crazy? Don't laugh at me, but Fleetwood and just 4-man, sort of like what I did last week. Just 4-man. Obviously I'm going to spend way less than last week. Last week I made 4 like hard bets, so I'm really happy one of them cashed. Thank you, Patrick.
Yes.
Thank you, Jon Rahm.
Big thanks to Jon Rahm on that one. But yeah, I could go Hatton and like Hatton 16, Fitzpatrick 18. I like Fitzpatrick more than I like Fleetwood. I don't care if Fleetwood has better odds.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. And honestly, Fitzpatrick probably feels even like this some ugly missed cuts like along the way. He does feel more likely to win before Fleetwood would at this moment. But that's all I got, man. Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited to break down Torrey Pines. That should be fun. I feel like with the modeling and like looking at all the past performances, like you got to completely cross off one of the courses, right? So you don't want to get too looked into it, or it's all you just take it as one.
No, like it's super easy to do on Fantasy National as well. Like you can just exclude Torrey Pines North from the equation, but I don't know how much.
That's why Fantasy National is the best.
Yeah, fantasynational.com/Mayo for 20% off. But at the same time, like I don't know how much you want to put stock into how guys play at the Farmers. Like it's just not going to be the same setup.
Yeah. And you even said guys on that last leaderboard were a lot of guys that really didn't have any Torrey Pines pedigree before having great U.S. Opens behind Tiger.
Yeah. The glove I would be interested in this week too. Anyway, let's do our one and done picks for the week. Tim tried to pick Charlie Hoffman. Charlie Hoffman heard the news and quickly withdrew from the tournament. So now he is taking Harris English as his one and done. You hit your one and done last week. You're in the lead now, Cantlay. Getting you a bunch of bucks. I couldn't use him because I had already used him when he missed the cut at the Players. So I got stuck with Can't Putt Hideki. So that leaves you with the pick for Palmetto.
Okay. I want you to I want you to give me 0 points though for the week before where I double use Thomas.
Okay, done. 0. But only because you hit the winner.
No, I was going to talk to you about that. No, I made that mistake. That's on me. That's a X 0. Okay, we're talking about one and done, and I'm going to use Danny Willett.
Danny Willett. You're not going to use Dustin Johnson?
No.
Okay. So Willett for you, English for Cust. I would have used Hatton or Fitzpatrick, but I have already used both Hatton and Fitzpatrick, so I cannot do that. So I will take... fuck it. Let's just take Rafa Cabrera Bayo. Be on my way.
Let's go. I accidentally double bet Rafa because the book I bet him on is really annoying. You'll make a bet.
Then it processes, and then it looks like you didn't make the bet, so then you go to make it again, and it double bets, because I know what site you're talking about.
Yeah, and I got 2 kids. I'm running around, and I go back to the page. I'm like, oh, I didn't make it. And your funds, the amount you won is still sitting there. It's like there's a couple other things not betting related. We got to do a Cuss Corner soon because I got a couple things I need to explode about, but we'll get there. I don't want to burn it here.
I have a Cuss Corner that we filmed 3 months ago that's just waiting to come out. So maybe if we can get enough smashes of the like button or people telling us that they want the Cuss Corner, maybe I'll release that this week because I won't have time next week because of, U.S. Open. Because Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is going to be U.S. Open. I have football stuff to release next week as well. So, yeah, maybe. Oh, my God.
Hopefully there's no gymnastics and the men can play in the late wave TV window.
Oh, got a piece of dust in my throat. Not great. Probably time to get out of here for this one. At Geoff Fienberg or G Fienberg 17 on Twitter, the Geoff Fienberg Show. Wednesdays and Fridays on ftndaily.com. For me at the PME on Twitter. I'll release the final picks in the newsletter. Subscribe to that in the description. And Daily Fantasy Sports, Picks and Bets, The Mix. Euro every day going to be up there. There's still French Open every day, the European Tour Pick Show. My final betting card as I preview this tournament, the quick one that's about 10 minutes, will all be up on that podcast feed. You rate and review on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars, something you like about the show, Twitter handle or email address. You get in a draw for a $33 win. To get you into the dog where the fuck you want to spend the $33. I don't care what you spend it on. It's yours once you end up being drawn a winner of that. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!